Hi, welcome back, everybody. Again, my name is Dennis Brown, and this is my weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thank you so much for joining me early. I know that some of you guys are joining me early today because we're going to do a free giveaway before the live training. Now, normally we do this training at noon. So let's see how many people we have live, and we're going to do a quick free giveaway, and then we're going to jump into the training at noon. So today, the topic we're going to talk about, what I'm going to share with you today, is my favorite hack for getting shippers using LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my favorite hack that I've used to get shippers using LinkedIn. It's something that works extremely well. I'm going to share with you a 4-part framework on exactly how that works. And then if you stick around to the end, you'll get access to a free download where it'll be a bit of a cheat sheet that'll kind of walk you through that. Because again, we go through these trainings pretty quick. So thank you everybody for joining me. We've got a bunch of people that are starting to join live. So we're going to do a quick giveaway. We're probably only going to have time for maybe one giveaway because I ran a couple minutes late today. I apologize. Had some few little technical difficulties as I was trying to hurdles I was trying to get through here before we got live. But again, we are going to first, the agenda is we're going to do a quick giveaway. Then we're going to do the training, which is my favorite LinkedIn hack for getting shippers. And then we're going to do live Q&A at the very end. So if you stick around to the end, you get access to the Q&A. You'll also get access to the cheat sheet that goes hand in hand with the training we're going to talk about today. Okay. So, oh my gosh, that was a lot of info. So we're going to let a few people get live, and then we're going to just do one giveaway today, I think. We're going to give away $50, okay? $50 to one person who is randomly selected after completing a really simple task, right? So all you're going to have to do is follow a really simple task, and then one person, we're going to give away $50. If we have time, maybe we'll give away two, but I think we're only going to have time for one. Again, we're going to let a few people get live. I'm going to just throw out some shout outs here. Welcome, Michael Shumway. Welcome, Richard Mason. Welcome, Reed Workman. Welcome, Ryan Garnett. Welcome, Steve Perez. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. I feel a little flustered right now because we have construction going on in our house. We're doing a kitchen remodel, which, if you've ever done that before, it is painful. It's painful because your whole house is in complete and utter chaos and disarray. And so I'm probably a little out of sorts today and a little unorganized, but I didn't want to miss this week's training because I know you guys, these weekly trainings have become a staple of the Freight Broker Bootcamp community. I love doing them, and you guys love participating. So, all right. So we got a bunch of people live. So I'm going to stop rambling. But today, just a refresher. Number one, we're going to do the giveaway. Number two, we're going to do the training about my favorite LinkedIn hack for getting shippers. Number three, we're going to do live Q&A. And then I'm also going to give you access to a cheat sheet that you'll be able to download, which will go hand in hand with this training. Okay. All right. So why don't we do the giveaway? See what we got here. All right. So very, very simple. All you have to do is, whether you are on Apple, if you pull out your mobile phone, whether you're on Apple or Android, here's all you got to do. If you're on Apple or Android, I want you to pull up your favorite podcast app. On Apple, that's usually your Apple podcast app. If you're anywhere else, it might be a Google podcast app or Spotify. Those are the three most popular. There are a bunch of other podcast apps. Here's all I want you to do. I want you to go in there. I want you to go to your favorite podcast app, and then I want you to search for Freight Broker Bootcamp, and you're going to see this. You're going to see the Freight Broker Bootcamp, okay, which is the Freight Broker Bootcamp podcast. All right, the Freight Broker Bootcamp audio experience. All I want you to do is to subscribe and follow the podcast. All right, you're going to hit subscribe or follow. And then I want you to do a quick review, a 5-star review, and maybe a comment in there, or whatever if you think it's a 1 or a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever you want. Give me a quick rate and review. Okay, so subscribe, rate, and review. And then all you have to do after you do that, whether you do that on the podcast app or Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you are, all you got to do is come back into the comments down here and let me know that you subscribed and rated, review, and that you rated and reviewed on whatever platform, Spotify, Google, Apple. But you got to let me know. Subscribed, rated, reviewed, and then whatever platform it was, Spotify, Google, Apple, whatever podcast platform you use to listen to your podcast. So for those of you that don't know, and I launched this podcast a few months ago. It's become incredibly popular. We're now ranked in the top 100 of all entrepreneurial podcasts on Apple. And we've been very, very blessed. And what I do with that podcast is it's the best of the best of the best audio trainings that I've done over the last decade. So you're going to find things that come from my YouTube channel. You're going to find things that come from different webinars. You're going to find things that come from private coaching calls that I've done with other clients. There's a whole variety of content there. And we add 2 new episodes every single week. And all you got to do to get a chance to win $50 is this. Go in, subscribe on your mobile phone, okay, whether that be your Apple or Android phone, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and then come back in and let me know that you subscribed, rated, and reviewed. You have to do all 3 of those things, okay? So if you do those things, great. You can come back in and you hit me up in the comments and let me know, and you will qualify to potentially win. I'm going to give away $50 to 1 lucky listener, okay? So sorry, we're probably not going to be able to get to 2 today, 2 giveaways, but we're definitely going to get 1. Maybe after the Q&A, I'll do another one, right? If we have time between the training and the Q&A, or after the Q&A, maybe we'll do another giveaway, okay? Normally I do at least a couple. All right, so hit me up in the comments and let me know that you've done this. All right, so we got a few people. All right, cool. All right, so again, all you got to do is open up your podcast app. Most people are listening either on Spotify or on Google, or Spotify and or on Apple Podcast. Just subscribe, rate, and review the podcast really quick. Come back in and let me know that you've done that, and you will qualify as somebody who's going to be entered to win a $50 cash prize. What I'm going to do is I'll actually PayPal you that money in the next 24 hours if you win. Okay. All right. So we're going to wait for a few more people. I'm going to grab a quick drink here. All right. We got 50 people live, and I don't see a lot of people subscribing. So nobody must need the money. I don't know, $50. I know it's not going to fill your gas tank anymore, but maybe it'll half fill your gas tank. Or maybe you could use that for a night out at the movies, or a quick dinner with your, pay part of the dinner with your spouse or significant other, whatever that case may be. So, but if you want a chance to win, all you got to do is subscribe to the podcast. But you've got to let me know. No, Alon, you have to let me know. Subscribed, rated, and reviewed, and then the platform. You can't just say, I subscribe. You can't just say, I'm done. You can't just say, I'm here. You can't just say, I did it. You got to say subscribed, rated, and reviewed, and then the platform. Google, Spotify, Apple. That's the only way you can get entered into this contest, okay? If you don't say that, then you're not eligible to win. Because what I do in order to pick the winner is I scroll down through the comments, my eyes closed, and I randomly point my mouse at one person, and that's the winner. That's my very non-scientific way of doing the giveaway, but it works, okay? So if you did not follow those instructions, Alanti Sturgis did. Very good. Excellent. Thank you so much. Oh, cool. So Michael, he subscribed on Amazon. Great. All right. And you can't do a rate and review on Amazon, so that's okay. All right. So we got, cool. All right. So we got quite a few people. We're going to give it about 1 more minute. And again, today's training, before I dive into this, I'm going to give you guys another chance here because we got about another minute or so to get in there and subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you're on, and come back in and hit me up in the comments. Today's training, I'm going to share with you my favorite hack for getting shippers using LinkedIn. I see a lot of people doing this wrong, and I see a lot of people kind of beating their head against the wall when it comes to leveraging LinkedIn. And I get it. I've been there. I've done it. I've made all the mistakes. But today I'm going to share with you a 4-part framework that's going to help you navigate through that to get more leads and sales using LinkedIn. Okay. And it's a very simple concept once you understand it. All right. So what do we got? Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to do the giveaway. I'm going to scroll up really quick to the beginning of the comments. And then I'm going to scroll down with my eyes closed and I'm going to randomly point to one and hopefully, nope, wrong. It was a person who didn't subscribe. It was just a different comment. Nope, that didn't work either. I apologize. Eyes are closed. Okay. Michael Shumway. Michael Shumway is the winner. Subscribed on Amazon Music. All right. Now you can't rate and review on Amazon Music. So Michael subscribed on Amazon Music. Congratulations. Thanks for playing along, Michael. Do me a favor. Here's all you got to do to collect your $50 prize. Here's all you got to do. You got to go to my Facebook page for Freight Broker Bootcamp, not my personal, my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Like the page and then send me a message with your full name, your PayPal email, and letting me know that you won the podcast rate and review or podcast subscribe contest for $50. That's all you got to do. You got to remind me what you won, how you won it, and you got to send me your PayPal email. I will then PayPal you the money within about 24 to 48 hours. And congratulations. Thank you, everybody who played along. Again, I will try to do another giveaway here, maybe between the training and the Q&A. Okay. So I apologize. We only had time for one giveaway today so far because I got on a little bit early or got on a little bit late because of some tech issues. But thank you, everybody, for playing along. Awesome. Thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. We've had such amazing feedback from it. Again, a lot of people like to listen to the podcast when they're driving or when they're working out or when they're taking a walk with the dogs, and it's passive, right? You can just put your earbuds in and you can have your phone on and boom, you're just listening to some of the best content I've ever created. And again, the podcast is 100% free, costs you zero. Okay. So that's the giveaway. Now we're going to be starting let me do this really quick. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to do the training here in about 60 seconds. We're going to get started here once everybody gets live. Now, for those of you that joined early, remember, that's when we do the giveaway. At 12 is when most people are going to join the live stream and when they're going to do, we're going to start the training shortly thereafter. Okay. All right, so quick drink. And then we're going to get this show on the road. All right, so for those of you that are joining me, just joining in now, thank you so much for being here. Again, this is my weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. And today, I'm going to share with you my favorite hack for getting shippers using LinkedIn. All right, so it's a 4-part framework that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to walk you through that framework, and then I'm going to give you a link at the end where you can actually download a cheat sheet that's going to walk you through and help you with this process. That means you don't have to scribble down a bunch of notes. All right. And then after the training, we're going to do live Q&A, right? So you can come in and into the comments and ask me any questions you want about this training or about about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent or virtually anything about business. And I will do my absolute best. Sorry about that. I will do my absolute best to try to answer that question. If I don't have the answer, which sometimes is the case because I don't know everything, I will try to point you in the right direction so you can get that answer. All right. So everybody that's in here now, give me a quick heads up in the comments. Let me know where you're logging in from. Let me know where you're watching from, right? We usually get people from South America and Central America and Canada and the US and sometimes, in the past, Ukraine, of course, not now. And I hope and pray that gets resolved soon. People in India and the UK and Australia. Obviously, the majority of the people in here are going to be from the United States, but I'd love to hear from you. Where are you chiming in from? Where are you viewing from? I'm in the Buffalo, Western New York area. Been a lifelong resident here all my life. Sometimes we even have people in my own backyard, right? Most of the people that are a part of my program are somewhere else, right? So we've trained Freight Broker Bootcamp has trained over 10,000 students in the last decade. Okay. So if you're curious about becoming a freight broker, freight agent, you can check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. And that would be the resource for you to help you get started as a freight broker, freight agent. Again, we train over 10,000 students and we offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. So what do we got here in the comments? What do we got? All right. So we got a bunch of people. Cool. All right. We got Nelson Sanchez from Florida. We got Robinson LeBrun from Orlando. We got T. Mikey Shelton from New York City. We got Carnivorous Hippie from Arizona. We got Robert Odoms from Atlanta. Michael Casada from Florida. We got a random Facebook user from Atlanta. Richard Mason from Kingman, Arizona. Lance Abero from Sacramento. Jay Ward from Dallas. David Burrell from Atlanta, Georgia. Jen Hicks from Orlando. John Killenbeck from New Jersey. Santiago from Georgia. Robert Davis from Greensboro, North Carolina. Girl Shar J from North Carolina. Dre Day from Kansas City. Jessica Shepard from Houston, Texas. Linda Kochanowski from Lincoln, Arkansas. Yeah, Chelsea from Boone, North Carolina. We got George. I hope I pronounced that right. From Raleigh. We got Jacob from San Antonio, Texas. Sue from Grove, Utah. Michelle from Orlando. Kyle from Salisbury, Maryland. Steve Perez from Starbase, Texas. Isaiah from Memphis, Tennessee. Alza from Florida. And Rachel from Brownsville, Texas. Plus Ray Torrey from Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored and I'm humbled that you guys are willing to take a few minutes out of your day to spend with me so I can share with you some of the things I've learned in the last 27 years as an entrepreneur, and in particular, the last 18, 19 years in the freight brokerage logistics industry. So we're going to let just a couple more people get live, then we're going to get started. Again, the agenda is simple. We're going to start with the training. Then we're going to go to live Q&A at the end. If you stick around to the end, you will get a link, okay, to a cheat sheet, which is going to summarize exactly what we go over in this training. I figured it was easier to do that, for me to do that for everybody than it was for you to all jot down notes, all right? So here we go, guys. Today's training, the topic I want to share with you today is my favorite hack for getting shippers with LinkedIn. All right. Now, for those of you that don't know what LinkedIn is, because I don't know where you're all starting in this journey, LinkedIn is the world's largest professional networking site. It's like a social media site for professionals. So these are all business people, personalities, CEOs, business owners, people that are in business that are going to that platform for one of a variety of reasons. Either they're looking to hire somebody or get hired. They are consuming content that's relevant to their target market and doing the same things that people do on Facebook, but in a business format, right? So it's very different than Facebook, but there's some similarities, okay? But it's much more professional and the topics and conversations tend to be much more business oriented. So if you're not familiar with LinkedIn, you can sign up for a free account. You can do that. Just go over to linkedin.com and you can get signed up. It's a great way to meet and connect with shippers and to generate leads and business for your freight brokerage or freight agency. As a matter of fact, in my freight brokerage, it became the number one source for generating new revenue. We generated well over $20 million a year in annual recurring revenue from LinkedIn alone, right? So I want to share with you just a small part of that today. So I'm going to share with you a 4-part framework, okay? And this framework is going to help you to get more shippers, even if you're brand new on LinkedIn, okay? So here we go. Here's what I see a lot of. Here's some of the mistakes I see. I see people going on LinkedIn and thinking the number one thing they think is that if I put up a LinkedIn profile, people are going to find me, and then they're going to reach out to me and ask me to become their freight broker or freight agent. That's not going to happen. Okay. That's typically not going to happen, right? Especially when you're brand new to the platform. So what you have to do, all right, is you have to find those people. And I'm going to share with you a simple way that you can really start having conversations with your target market. Here's how it works. Step number 1, find an influencer in your niche. So for example, if you're a freight broker in the steel niche or the produce niche or the oil and gas niche or the bottled beverage niche or whatever niche or industry you're focusing on for your freight brokerage or freight agency, what I want you to do is I want you to find an influencer within that niche. And what I mean by an influencer is someone who has a significant following because their thoughts and their content and their information that they're putting out on LinkedIn gets high engagement, meaning, when you put a post out, it might, you can either put a post out on social media and you hear crickets and nobody engages with it, nobody likes, comments, or shares it, or you can put content out on LinkedIn that gets hundreds or thousands of comments and shares and likes. So what you want to do is you want to find an influencer, someone who has a following and has a voice and is looked at as an influencer in your niche. Again, that can be based on whatever industry you're in. One of the fastest and easiest ways to identify those people is to search LinkedIn using hashtags. So the hashtag is that #. You see it a lot on Twitter. You see it on Facebook and different platforms, social media platforms. LinkedIn has hashtags as well, and you can search those hashtags. So if you're in the steel industry, you would search hashtag steel industry or something related to steel, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to see a bunch of content there. You're going to see a bunch of posts from people that are all over the world. Some of those posts are going to have 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 shares, okay? Others are going to have hundreds or thousands of engagements. You want to gravitate to the posts that have hundreds or thousands of engagements. Those are the people that have the most influence because their voice has the widest, spreads the widest, and has the biggest impact. So you'll find the person that is posting that content. And then what you will do, you're going to find those people, and then you're going to go through, you're going to see their profile, and you're going to go through the different posts that they've put on LinkedIn. And then you're going to find high engagement content. So the content that they're posting that gets the most engagement, the most likes, comments, and shares. Okay. So first is find the influencer. Second step is to go through their content and find the high engagement content, because not every one of their posts is going to be high engagement, but you're going to find that, they're going to get a significant amount of engagement on a lot of their posts, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go into that post because it's going to be relevant to that steel industry or relevant to whatever your niche is. And you're going to write a meaningful, relevant, and compelling comment in their post. Okay. So for example, let's just take a hypothetical. Say somebody posted something about how the war in Ukraine is impacting the steel industry. Just a hypothetical, right? They're putting some sort of a post out there or content relevant to that. Obviously, it's very newsworthy, so it's probably going to get a lot of engagement. What you would do is you would write a meaningful, relevant, and compelling comment in below their content, right? In reference to their exact post. Now, what that does is a couple of things. Number one, it allows you to express your opinion, right? Because this is an opinion piece, right? So you're gonna express your opinion about that post or about that topic, right? And again, we don't want to bring a lot of politics into this. We want to focus on more non-political type content, of course. And that might not have been the greatest example, but ultimately, you then create a very relevant and compelling comment. And what it does is, number one, the person who posted that is going to see your comment. And everybody else who reads the comments is going to see your comment. So what's going to happen is you are going to start positioning yourself as a voice in that conversation. So you took an influencer and now you've put yourself on their same playing field, right? Someone who gets hundreds of thousands of engagements per post. Now you are on the same page as them. So it automatically raises your stature, right? So that's the first thing, or that's the second thing. So step number one, find the influencer. Step number two, comment on high engaging posts, right? High engaging content, right? And then step number three is there are going to be a bunch of people within that post that are going to be engaging. They're going to be liking, they're going to be commenting, particularly the people that are commenting and liking that post. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to connect with those engagers. I call those people engagers because they actually didn't just look at the content, they actually took the time to engage. So what you're going to do is you're going to send a custom connection request. You're going to connect with the people that are engaging with that content. And the easiest way to do that is to simply reference the content that you both commented on or you engaged with or that you both liked, right? So you reference that as a point of common interest, right? Because it's going to be very timely. It's not something they would have commented on months ago. It's something they will have commented on probably in the last 24, 36, 48 hours. And so it's going to be very relevant to them. It's going to be very contextual to where they are today. And then there's going to be a very high likelihood that they're going to connect with you. Now, some of those people might not be a part of your target market, but you particularly want to find people that are a part of your target market, people that are potential prospects for your business. All right. So you're going to send a connection request to them referencing that piece of content. That's number 3. And then step number 4, the key is once they connect with you, once they accept your connection request on LinkedIn, here's all you want to do. Very, very simple. Continue the conversation in a non-salesy format, in a non-salesy way. What you don't want to do as soon as they accept your connection request is beat them over the head with your pitch and tell them how great you are and that you want to jump on a call and you want to start moving their freight. That's the absolute opposite of what you want to do. What I suggest is continue the conversation and ask a compelling question or do something to continue the conversation that's relevant to the content that you both engaged with that we're talking about in that post, and or something that's very relevant to any sales intelligence that you've been able to gather from their profile, because you will have been able to look at their profile on LinkedIn. You'll know the school they went to, you know how long they've worked for their company, you'll know influencers that they follow, you'll know their geography, you'll know all kinds, groups they belong to. So you'll be able to gather a bunch of sales intelligence. And what you want to do is you want to continue that conversation either with something that's very relevant and contextual to the post itself that you have in common, and or some form of sales intelligence that you gather. Okay. That's going to, number 1, you have found a lead, you've connected with a potential prospect, and now you've started a conversation about something that's relevant to not only them, but to you. And that's the starting point. Now, again, these guys are not asking you for a freight quote. These guys are not asking you to set up a meeting, but you should be able to turn that basic conversation into a one-on-one relationship that you can then pivot now or later into a phone call or a possible opportunity to work with them down the road. So what we're doing is we're developing a network of connections that can potentially buy for us, but we're having an interesting and compelling conversation that's not salesy. The biggest problem with people on LinkedIn is that as soon as somebody connects with them, they bring out their hammer, their Thor hammer, which I'm going to share with you real quick. They bring out their hammer and they beat them over the head with their pitch, right? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So you can't beat them over the head with your pitch. What you have to do is you have to start a meaningful conversation. It's very important that you understand that, right? It's not speed dating, right? This is not Tinder. You have to take your time. You have to slow things down a little bit. So that's the 4-part process that I wanted to share with you today, how you can tap into the influence of people within your niche and then start finding, connecting, and engaging with people that could potentially be your clients, right? So that's my favorite hack, because it doesn't matter whether you're day 1 on LinkedIn or you've been on LinkedIn for years. Very few people know about this hack. And the ones that don't do it very well, but the ones that do it well are absolutely killing it. It's one of their primary sources for starting conversations with people in their niche. And then they convert those into hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, depending upon the type of product or service that you are selling. And in the freight brokerage industry, we all know the key to this business is the lifetime value of a shipper. A small shipper, a small shipper lifetime value, you might be doing $250,000 to $500,000, the lifetime value of that client. So it's a very high lifetime value. You don't have to have hundreds of shippers in order to develop and have an amazing income. But listen, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure, wherever you're listening at, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell to get notified. Truly appreciate you guys being here. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Again, we've trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee if for any reason you're not happy. So check that out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. And now we're going to dive in, do some Q&A. So hold tight with your questions, because I actually think I'm going to do a quick giveaway. All right. Number one, that training itself, give me a heads up in the comments. First thing I want you to do is I want some feedback, right? I want some feedback from you. 1 to 10, just 1 meaning it sucked, Dennis. I totally don't understand. And this is a terrible training. 10 meaning, listen, this is something it's perfect. I'm going to use it. I'm going to try it. And I think it's ideal. Give me some feedback in the comments below, 1 to 10. What do you guys think about this topic? My favorite hack for getting shippers with LinkedIn. Did it make sense? Okay. Did it make sense? Oh, by the way, here, I'm going to give you a link. Sorry about that. I'm going to give you a link where you guys can go get the cheat sheet. I should have done that. Forward slash LI. All right, hold on. It's coming up in just 1 second. Okay, so here is all right, here it is. All right, so I'm actually going to change. Yeah, it's freightbrokerbootcamp.com/LI hack. LI hack. If you go there, you're going to be able to enter your email and you'll be able to download the cheat sheet. That cheat sheet is going to walk through all that 4-part framework and is going to clarify and going to kind of solidify that exact process that I just talked about. Right? So you can get it. It's absolutely free. You put your email in, you'll be able to download it for free. You can print it out. You can use it any way you want. And ultimately, it's kind of a roadmap, a little bit of a roadmap for you to try to help you with your LinkedIn marketing efforts. Okay. And then also, if you guys could, as you're doing that, let me know in the comments here. I'm going to do Q&A in a minute. You got to hold off on the questions, but give me a heads up what you guys think about the training itself. Again, I've got thick skin. You can be completely honest. If you thought the training sucked and is totally not relevant, give me a 1, 2, or 3. If you thought it was something that could be very helpful and be leveraged and you're really interested in it, then give me an 8, 9, or 10. Okay. I'm just curious if this type of a training is something that's valuable to you. And then again, in about a minute or two, in a couple minutes, so we're going to jump into Q&A. Hold your questions until I say any of your questions. Otherwise, they're going to get lost in the feed. I know you want to be first, but if you get lost in the feed, you'll end up being last. Okay. So, okay, cool. So we got some good feedback. All right. So we got some people that said they never thought of that. Interesting. Good. 9 out of 10. Good. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. That's all I'm looking for. Some honest feedback. Honest feedback is very important to me because it allows me to customize and tailor the training going forward, because I know if these type of topics are relevant to you, if you think they're going to help you. And then obviously I can sometimes do a deeper dive into things like this, or I can talk about other things that are kind of parallel to that. All right. So good feedback. Awesome. Very good feedback. Cool. Love it. Thank you everybody who's chimed in here. If you guys want to get the cheat sheet, here's all you got to do. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/LI hack. That's it. That's all you got to do. Go there, put your email in. You're going to get an email with a link directly to the download. You can download it. You can print it. You can do whatever you want, and you'll get the cheat sheet. All right. All right. So I'm going to keep that up there for a couple minutes. And what I want you to do now, while I grab a quick drink, is I want you to enter your questions. I want you to enter your questions. What do you guys think about my hammer? This thing is crazy. This is my Thor hammer. I start entering your questions while I ramble about the hammer, but this thing weighs about, if I had to guess, this thing probably weighs about 10 pounds, right? So if I hit somebody with this thing, if I hit the table, literally the table would shatter. It's crazy. This thing is so cool. I bought this thing last year. I don't know. FYI, I'm a big Avengers fan, right? You can probably see in the background. I also have my Avengers hand here. This is the Thanos hand, right? The one where he snapped his fingers, right? Kind of cool, right? This is a neat little gadget. I don't know. I've never really taken these out and shown you guys, but yeah, you guys can check it out. It's pretty awesome. It's got the jewels in it. It's got everything. Actually, I think it even lights up. So hit me up with questions. and then we'll jump in there. I don't know where's the on button. Oh, there it is. It actually lights up. You can see. It's pretty cool. Sweet. So I'm going to snap my fingers, and then I'm going to jump into Q&A once I shut this light off. All right. Okay. So we had enough fun. What do we got for questions here? All right. Okay. All right, so here's a question from Kyle Murphy. Kyle asks, I started with a brokerage about 6 months ago, and a lot of factoring companies won't work with us because we are a new company showing no credit. How would I get around this without using a factoring of my own? Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a shortcut on how to get this answer, and it's going to be a step-by-step answer on exactly how one of my students, Elio Longoria, actually did this as a brand new broker, was able to overcome these early hurdles, and then did $1 million his first year as a freight broker. Okay? You want to hear that? You want to hear how you did that? All right, here's all you got to do. If you want to hear that, all you got to do is go to my YouTube channel, and I did an entire training on it. So all you got to do is go to youtube.com/freight brokers. And then on my channel, there'll be a little search box. You can search where you can see, and the topic of the title of the video is how to build your credit fast as a freight broker. Okay. So Elio walks through the step by step. I interview him on this process that he went through on how to overcome these early hurdles of credit when it comes to factoring, when it comes to working with shippers, when it comes to all of that. Okay. So rather than me trying to replicate that here, I think that's the best way because we walk through that entire process. So go to youtube.com/freight brokers. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified every time I put out a new video. And then search within my content. You'll see the topic of how to build your credit fast as a freight broker and go through that entire training. It's probably short. It's probably less than 15, 20 minutes long. And that's going to draw you a roadmap of exactly what you're looking for. Okay. So I hope that helps. Good question. Thank you for the question, Kyle. All right, I'm scrolling. All right, so here's a question from Lance. Off topic, Dennis, but could you sometimes do a training or discuss about, like myself, starting a brokerage and the pros and cons and how it's structured via C Corp or LLC? Okay, so I'm just going to give you a really simple pros and cons of C Corp versus S Corp or LLC. A C Corp, and you can look this up on Google. I would strongly suggest you get some legal advice. Start with Google and then ask a lawyer if you have further questions, because I'm not a lawyer and I don't give legal advice and I don't play a lawyer on TV. Although I do have a pre-law degree that I graduated with, I never used it. Okay. So the biggest difference between a C Corp and an S Corp / LLC is that in a C Corp, you are typically going to have two forms of tax. Number one, you're going to have a corporate tax. And then secondly, you're going to have a personal tax. So you're going to get taxed twice on the same income. Okay. Now, the advantage of a C Corp is if you're going out to raise money and you're going to have a lot of investors, that's one of the primary advantages to having a C Corp, because you can have almost an unlimited amount of investors. An LLC or an S Corp is different. You'll only get taxed one way because the earnings or losses pass through to each of the shareholders or members. So you don't get taxed twice, you only get taxed once. Okay. It still provides you the liability insulation where you can't, if your business gets sued, it doesn't attach to your personal assets. But that's the biggest difference. So most small businesses, most companies that aren't out there raising capital or raising investment dollars, either set up as an LLC or an S Corp. Right? So I would say that, matter of fact, I've only had one business in my life that was a C Corp. And that was because we went out and raised capital in the public market. So we had hundreds of investors in the program. That was a technology company I had back in the .com, the late 90s. So I think that was the only C Corp I've ever had, right? Everything else from there on out has been an S Corp. Even when I had partnerships, right? Even when there were partners in the business, we didn't go out and raise capital. We didn't have a lot of investors. You still get to be able to insulate your personal assets, and they can only, if somebody sues the company, they can only try to attach the assets of the company. And of course, in a freight brokerage, there are no assets, right? Because you don't have any trucks, you don't have any buildings, you don't have any of that. All you have is your receivables, of course. But ultimately, that's a little bit of pros and cons. I hope that helps. I would say Google would be your best bet for really, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, comparing a C Corp versus an LLC versus an S Corp. If you want to do that, if you just type that, C Corp versus S Corp versus LLC, pros and cons, you'll get a post that's going to literally will give you hundreds of differentiators on the little things. I gave you the bigger things, right? So I hope that helps. Okay, so Tamika asks, what method or search terms do you use to find the logistics influencers? So you can use keywords, okay? You go to LinkedIn, you go to the search bar, you can use keywords, and you're going to want to search posts, not just users, right? You're going to want to search there's going to be a bucket, different buckets you can search. You want to search posts, and you can search by keywords, but that's going to be pretty generic. So you could search by steel, you could search by logistics, you could search by import, export, whatever keywords you have. What I find gives me the most relevant content is by searching for hashtags. So for example, hashtag steel industry. And then that is something that you can follow that hashtag. So you can click and follow that hashtag. So anytime new content comes up, it's going to land in your feed, but you can also search all of the posts that are relevant that are tagged with that hashtag. So anybody who's an influencer in the steel industry is typically going to hashtag it steel industry to expand their reach and to bring people to them that are specifically looking for that. Okay. So you're really going to search by keyword or a combination of keyword and hashtags. And again, you're going to have to play around with this a little bit. We all have different niches. Again, if you're in the steel industry, an easy one to start with, and you're not going to just have one keyword, you're going to have multiple hashtags. You can do steel industry, you can do produce industry, you can do oil and gas industry. You could do bottled beverages, you could do import export, you could do almost any niche is going to have some version of hashtags. And a lot of times when you type those hashtags in, it's going to give you some suggested searches as well, just like Google does. Another way you could do it is go on Twitter. Twitter is the home of hashtags. You could do some research on Twitter and see what the most popular hashtags are that are relevant to your niche. And then you could search those hashtags on LinkedIn. And what you'll find is sometimes the popularity of those hashtags from one platform to another platform will convert. So that might be a great way to get some ideas on different hashtags that are relevant to your niche. Okay. So I hope that helps. Good question, Tamika. Yes, we are going to do some content on this very soon. Okay. So we'll do a training. It's on the list of trainings we're going to be doing very soon. Okay. Which is kind of onboarding and shipper vetting, carrier onboarding and shipper vetting. Yes, we are going to do some of that content. I will make sure that we put another check mark next to it because it's been requested. But yeah, we will try to do that. Again, I only do these trainings once a week. And sometimes we have a list of topics that's this long, right? From people that have suggested and or things that we think are really important. So it's on the list. All right. So I'm just scrolling through the comments, looking for a good question. Okay, so here's a question from Emily. After a week of starting to call on shippers, I hit the pavement, dropped into a local places, and I have a video conference with my first potential customers. How should I prepare? I'm nervous. Okay. All right. Well, good job. Congratulations. So you have a video call scheduled with a potential prospect. The first thing you want to do in preparation is you want to gather sales intelligence. Now, what do I mean by that? Sales intelligence is any data, any information that you can gather prior to your conversation that's going to enhance your opportunity to get a sale. So let me give you some context. If you went to the company's website and you learned the name of the CEO and the name of the CFO and the name of the COO and some of the main officers, and maybe you learned their origin story, right, of how the company started, and you learned about their products, and you looked at their media page or their news page or maybe their PR page, and you saw that they had recently released a press release about X, Y, and Z. Maybe they acquired a new company. Maybe they launched a new product. Maybe they've had a record quarter. Whatever the case may be, gather some sales intelligence that's going to allow you to have an interesting and compelling conversation versus just beating them over the head with your pitch. Okay? Remember, we don't want to beat people over the head with our pitch, right? We want to have a meaningful conversation. It can't be all sales. So if you arm yourself with information and data about the company, and then also about the people that are going to be a part of that call, go to LinkedIn. Find the person's profile that you're going to be talking to on a video call. Gather some sales intelligence about them. How long have they been with the company? What different roles have they played? What's their geography? You might find some of their hobbies. You might be able to see other influencers they follow, content that they've liked, commented, or shared. Right? So there's a variety of different things that you can find prior to the call to be better prepared to have a meaningful conversation. Remember, we don't want to just get on there and start beating the pitch. We want to develop rapport. We want to be different than every other freight broker out there that's just focused on me. What's in it for me? What lanes do you have for me to quote? What loads can I get today? That's the average freight broker. So the good news is it's not hard to differentiate yourself, but you do have to do a little bit of homework. So kudos on the question, because it's a great question. How do I prepare for this opportunity? Right now, of course, you're going to want to be able to handle the normal questions that they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you questions a little bit about your background. They're going to ask you questions about the type of service that you offer. They're going to ask you some questions about the lead times that you need. They might ask you some questions on rates. They might ask you some questions on capacity, right? There's a variety of things that they may or may not ask you. But the key is what they're really trying to do with this call is not make a final determination as to whether they're going to use you. They're trying to make a final determination as to whether they know you enough so that they can trust you, so that they can do business with you. Because those are the 3 check marks that you've got to cross off before anybody does business with you. They need to know you first, which is kind of what this call is going to be about, whether you're worth building trust with, so that they can then do business with you. So that's what this call is for, right? You're probably not going to get off this call and they're going to be a customer, but you are going to move the ball down the field. You're going to be closer to doing business with them than you were before. Because again, we all know that there's no one call closes, right? It just doesn't really exist. It might take 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 conversations or dialogues back and forth via email or face-to-face or a phone or a combination before you're actually going to do business with them. Right? That's the process. It takes time, because whether you want to admit it or not, whether anybody on here wants to admit it or not, the number one reason why shippers don't do business with you has nothing to do with price. It's not price. I don't care what you say. I will argue with every single one of you in this feed right now until I'm blue in the face. It's not price. You know what it is? It's trust. They don't trust you. Therefore, they're not going to do business with you. Because even if you have the best price, the cheapest price, if they don't trust you, they're still not going to give you a truckload of freight that could be worth $30, $50, $100,000 or more. So trust is the number one barrier. How do you build trust? You make it about them. You educate yourself about them and their challenges and their issues and their business and their industry. And statistically speaking, the most educated salesperson in any industry, not formal education, but educated about their niche, their prospect, and the people they're doing business with, are the people that win the most often. Okay? So that was a long answer, but I hope it helps, Emily. I got other gadgets. We'll show those in future videos. Okay, I want to know how my shipper base. Okay, so let's see this. Michael Shumway, the winner of the $50 today. Congratulations. I want to know how my new shipper base, because of you, get that such detailed info. Were they your own book at one point? I asked due to my approach to them. Okay, no. The shipper database. Okay, so what Michael's referring to is if you are a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp, I have a bonus that's a part of that, which is a shipper database of over 100,000 shippers. These are not all customers that I did business with. So don't mistake that. This is not my customer list. Number one, I would never give you my customer list. Number two, I couldn't give you my customer list because it would be against my, the terms of the sale when I sold my freight brokerage several years ago. Okay, so I can't do that. So I'm not giving you a list of my shippers or my customers. I'm giving you a list of companies that make and ship products in the United States. So these could be people that are making, a computer mouse. These could be people that are making and shipping the buy energy drinks. These could be people that are making cell phones. These could be people that are making chairs. These could be people that are making and selling books. They could be anything. There's all different niches in there. And you can search that database. If you're a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp, you can search that database from within the membership based on keywords, based on geography, based on company size, based on a variety of different criteria. And that's how you can narrow down and build a list of prospects that you're going to do outreach to. Okay. So it's not my company list. It's not my shipper list. It's not my customer list. I couldn't, nor would I ever give you that list. Now, within that list, there's a whole bunch of companies I've done business with, but I can't tell you who they are. Okay. Nor would I. Right. So I've given you this entire list that you can now filter down based upon your niche, and then you can do outreach to. So I hope that helps, Michael. It's a good question because I think other people may have that same question. Thanks for asking. Okay, so here's a question. Michael Casada asks, when getting a new shipper and getting a question you don't know per rate or other questions, how do you make them wait until you investigate? The other day, I got a shipper who wants a carrier with a Moffett. Did you know how to rate him as this is additional, driver plus labor? Okay, you did not know how to rate them. Okay, so just so you know, it's very common. Shippers are used to brokers having to get back to them in 5 minutes, tomorrow, or 48 hours. Okay, it's very common. Right? So most shippers understand that when they request a rate quote from you, a specific rate quote, a pickup and a pickup location, a drop location with some sort of specialized service like a Moffett service, right? A Moffett, just so you guys know, basically what it has is it has a, like the Moffetts that we ran were, they were like, they had a pallet jack, not a pallet jack, but actually a pallet truck that they could use as a part of unloading. So a lot of times it might be like a flatbed service that would have a pallet machine that could unload the product. Okay. So a lot of times you'll have that with a residential delivery or a delivery that doesn't have a dock. Right. So if you don't have a dock that the truck can back up to, somehow that product's got to get off the truck. And so therefore a lot of times it needs something to pull the pallets off, right? So that's an example. So not to digress, but the point is that you will learn those nuances during those early conversations with your niche market. But it's okay to say, to tell the prospect, listen, let me get back to you in 5 minutes. I'll let you know. And if you don't know the answer, just research it. That's the reason why Google is Google, because they have all the answers. You could literally find the answer to that in 30 seconds, right? Now, you may not know the exact rate, but you may know what it is. So if you can do the research up front and you know that your niche is doing residential delivery or is going to require this, then you want to do that due diligence up front. But just know that most shippers are going to understand when they give you a freight quote that you're not giving them that answer on the phone. You can simply say, hey, great, I'll shoot you an email in 5 minutes. Does that work? Yeah, no problem. Great. So you shoot them an email in 5 minutes with the quote and the details and all the information. And then from there, you can continue that dialogue via email, or you can call them back up, get on the phone, and continue that sales process, right? With the goal of getting that shipment so that you can get your first customer, right? So I hope that helps, but just know some of the things there's no way to go into this business or any business knowing every answer to every question. And what I find is I find a lot of people that try to get the answer to every scenario before they start. And I tell them this, there's an old saying, if you wait for all the lights to turn green before you head to work in the morning, you're always going to be late. So let that sink in for a minute. If you wait for all the lights to turn green in the morning before you head to work, you're always going to be late. So what I mean by that in this context is do as much due diligence and educate yourself as much as you can about your niche before approaching that niche. But at some point, you got to just dig in and know that there are going to be questions you don't know the answer to, and that's okay. You're going to learn them as you go, right? A prospect like this is going to bring that up, and then that's how you're going to learn about some of the nuances associated with your niche. But don't worry about that, right? There are hundreds or thousands of other shippers out there that you're going to be able to contact and do business with. Don't worry about the one shipper that you called that you didn't have the answer to. If you do, it's going to slow you down and you're just never going to succeed. You're never going to survive. Okay? So I hope that helps. Okay, so here's a question from Ozan. Should we be worried about the world gas prices? Many experienced brokers, agents having problems, I think. Okay, so gas, the price of diesel, okay, diesel fuel, which is what trucks run on here in the US and most countries, the price of diesel fuel is always fluctuating. It's always going up and down. So number one, shippers and brokers are used to that, as are carriers. The two parties that are the most impacted with price increases of fuel or price decreases in fuel are shippers and carriers. The great part about being a broker is you don't pay for fuel. You're really just passing along whatever ongoing cost or growing or increasing or decreasing cost that there is based upon the current price of fuel. So if you were moving a load pre-fuel bump, right, before the fuel went up, when diesel was at $3 a gallon, if you were moving a load from Buffalo to Atlanta and you were able to make a couple $100 on that load as a broker when fuel was at $3 a gallon, when fuel's at $5 a gallon, you should still be able to make a couple $100 a load. Now, you're going to have to pay the carrier more and the shipper's going to have to pay more, but your margins, you should be able to relatively maintain your margins. Now, some other dynamics can happen when fuel goes up. The number one dynamic is that shippers become much more open to talking to new providers because that volatility has disrupted their flow, their supply chain. And so what's happening is the providers that they're currently using haven't been able to support all of their needs. So they are now open to new vendors, which is a great dynamic, which is ideal for new brokers. It's a perfect time. Matter of fact, the best time to get shippers is when there is volatility in the market. The second dynamic is that carriers, depending upon the carriers themselves, sometimes they will rein in their trucks. They won't run as far from their home base. They may park some of their trucks. So potentially it could tighten up capacity. So yes, as a broker or an agent, you may have to work a little harder to source your trucks. But the fact is, if you are selling your service at a rate that is palatable to the carrier and palatable to the shipper, and you have freight, product is still going to move. You got to understand, it's all about supply and demand. If you're still paying the rate that the lane was running at when diesel was $3 a gallon, and now it's $5 a gallon, you're still trying to sell that old rate, there's no trucks that are going to take that freight. It's just not going to happen. They'd rather park their trucks than lose money. Okay. Which makes sense. If you were in the driver's seat, you'd do the same thing. So you've got to bring those rates up to a point that creates a parity where they were before, where a carrier can make a little bit of money and a shipper is still getting their product moved. This is a temporary glitch. It always is. I remember the first time I had my brokerage, the first time fuel broke $5 a gallon. And I remember everybody running around and the sky's falling. And everybody's worried that, they're going to go out of business. Guess what? Smart brokers didn't go out of business. Smart carriers didn't go out of business, and smart shippers didn't go out of business. Okay. They understand, and all of their customers understand that price is a pass through to the end user. So if you're the person who's buy drinks, okay, and you're used to paying $2.50 a drink, you know that once fuel skyrockets, that the price of this is going to go up to $2.69 or $2.99 or $3.25. It's called inflation. And the end user, the consumer like us, are the ones who pay for that. That's inflation. So shippers that don't raise their prices are going to struggle because they're not going to get the product off the dock. So should you be conscious and cognizant and aware of what's going on with fuel? Yes, you should watch fuel every day. You should know the price of fuel every day. Is it going up? Is it going down? Where's it at? Okay, because your shippers are having those conversations. So it's relevant to your customers, and it's obviously very relevant to your carriers because your carriers are buying that fuel. It costs them $1,000 or more just to fill up a truck, right? So I think it is relevant, but the sky is not falling. Smart brokers, smart carriers, and smart shippers will navigate it, and you will still be able to maintain a margin. I hope that helps. I gave you a little bit of a brain dump, but I hope that helps. Okay. I'm scrolling. Just give me a minute. I'll find some questions. I'm scrolling. Okay, a lot of comments. Thank you for the comments. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the training. Okay, so here's a question. Good question from Vadim. How do brokers protect themselves from being cheated by shippers? Well, I'm not sure I know what you mean by cheated, but let's assume that you mean they don't pay their bills. That's kind of what I'm going to assume. I'm going to assume that you're saying that they won't pay their bills. So here's how it works. One of two ways. If you are a broker using a factoring company, typically that factoring company is going to run credit on that shipper because they have risk. Okay. There's risk associated with it. So a lot of times the factoring company will run credit on the shipper and they will give you some sort of a suggested credit line or a starting point. So they're going to do some due diligence and run credit on that shipper prior to doing business with the company. All right. Or prior to doing any amount of business with the company. That's number one. You need to do what's called risk management, credit and risk management. You need to assess the risk of doing business with a shipper before doing business with that shipper. And typically the way you do that is you run a Dun & Bradstreet report or some form of credit report. You get them to fill out a credit application, which asks for references and things of that nature. Okay. So you're going to run a credit analysis on them and you're going to determine, are they a newer company where they should only be prepay if they're in business less than a year? Have they been around for 20 years and they're a $100 million company with good financials? And are you going to give them a 20 or 50 or $100,000 credit line? Every company is different because every industry is different and their background is different. The same way as if you go to buy a car or a house, that bank is going to run credit on you. You need to run credit on your shipper. So having some sort of a credit and risk management process is an important thing, right? And then maintaining that because their credit, we had a policy every year. We ran a new credit profile on shippers after every 6 months. So if we were doing business with them, we started doing business with them on January 1, and we said that they were $20,000 credit risk. At the end of 6 months, we would do another assessment and say, is the risk higher or lower? And if the risk got higher, we may pull their credit down. If if they're a better risk where the risk is lower now, we may increase their limit if they're bumping their head on that limit. Okay. So it's not a one-time thing. It's something that you need to do ongoing, right? So that's a part of it. That's where a factoring company can help you. Now, if you don't have a factoring company and you're doing it like on your own, like I didn't have a factoring company. You just run Dun & Bradstreet credit reports. You learn how to interpret and read those reports. You're going to look how long they've been in business. What type of trade lines do they have? What's their revenue? Things of that nature. You're just the same sort of things that a bank is going to look at you for, right? Do they have any? Are they a slow pay? Are they slow paying other vendors? That's all information you can get from those types of reports, and then you can assess your credit risk. And then from there, you want to continue to maintain that. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were looking for, but I think that's the direction you were headed. So I hope that helps. Okay, so here's a question. Brokers can go after carriers' bond, but no. All right, so let me clarify. Vadim, carriers can go after a broker's bond, but brokers can't go after a carrier because carriers don't have a bond. So carriers can protect themselves from brokers. The FMC put that in place as a requirement by making the brokers get a broker bond. Okay? So carriers can go after a broker's bond to protect themselves, but shippers do not have bonds to protect carriers. You are required as a broker, just in normal doing business with another business, is to run and assess their credit. If you assess their credit and you say they're a $10,000 credit risk and then they don't pay their bills, that was an assessment and risk you had to take on your own. Now, I can tell you that in the history of me doing business, having done over $200 million as a freight broker, okay, personally as a freight broker, right, my own company, right, the default rate for bad debt fell somewhere between 1% and 2%. It's very low, right? That means out of every $1 million you do business, you're talking 10 to 20 grand maybe that you might lose. Now, I think our first year we had one small one, and then the next year or two, I don't think we had any bad debt. And then we had a few that hit here and there, but you can build that into your equation. There's also different insurances you can get for that, right? There's receivables insurance and things like that you can get later. I don't want to confuse you right now, but that's another thing you can do. I'm glad we brought that up. There's receivables insurance, right? Where you can insure your receivables against a certain shipper or against all of your receivables. Now it costs money, but what happens is it reduces your risk because the insurance company will pay you in the event that a shipper doesn't pay minus a deductible, right? So that's an insurance product. So that's another way to mitigate risk. Good question. Thanks, Vadim. Okay, so how do you find a shipper's telephone number if the one listed online doesn't work? If the phone number online doesn't work, they're probably not in business. So you go to their website. If that phone number on their website doesn't work, they're probably not a viable business. Okay. The other thing you can do is go to LinkedIn, find a contact there, find their company profile, find some contacts in the shipping industry, and you can also are in the shipping and logistics department. And then you can go in and you can connect, you can search their profile. Maybe they have their phone number listed on there, or you can connect with them and start engaging with them through LinkedIn messaging, things of that nature. So those are a couple of workarounds. There are other databases you can purchase access to. There are other free databases out there, things like that you can either purchase and or get free access to that might be able to give you some additional data. So those are a couple of things you might want to try. Yeah, Emily, I'm not sure. In your opinion, why are rates to carriers so low right now? Are shippers not offering good rates, or are brokers really greedy, or overabundance of brokers to loads to bid? No, I don't see low rates. I don't see low rates. Uh, I see rates have went up dramatically. Rates have went up dramatically. It's significant. Let's not say dramatic. They've went up significantly since the fuel increase. And the reason why is because trucks can't run. Now, not all shippers can absorb those prices immediately. They need to pass through those prices. So sometimes it will slow down the supply chain. It's definitely not greedy brokers. I can tell you that. Brokers on average are making, a 10 to 15% margin, right? That's not greedy. Brokers, the average broker doesn't make 30, 40, 50% margins. That's a total misconception. Most brokers make a 10 to 15% margin. A really good margin on a brokerage for full truckload is 15 to 20%. That's not greedy. So yeah, I don't see that. That's not what I'm seeing. Now, there may be specific lanes where for whatever reason freight has broken free and there's a load to truck disparity where there are more loads than there are trucks for whatever reason. I'm not sure that specific dynamic. If you have a specific example, I don't know if I can really, I don't have access to a load board, so I can't really go in and assess that. But that's not what I'm seeing. So I'm not sure how it matches up with you. I'm scrolling. Okay, so here's a question from Lance. I'm a former TQL, Total Quality Logistics, W-2 model employee. I'm still developing my brokerage. In the meantime, I've gotten with an established one as a 1099 agent. Anything I should inquire about? 1099 is new to me. Okay, so Lance was a broker working as a W-2 broker inside of TQL as an employee. Okay, so he was an employed, he was getting hourly salary plus some sort of bonus and benefits and all that. But since then, he's spun off as an agent and is now 1099, which means he's an independent contractor. He doesn't get a salary, doesn't get a guarantee. He's on straight commission, okay? And he's not an employee, right? So he's probably working remote. May or may not, but probably working remote. So his question is, what should I inquire about? Well, number one, whenever you're partnering with a brokerage, you want to, number one, know how long they've been in business, right? Do they have, they obviously want to check out their broker authority, make sure they have an active authority in good standing. Number two, how long have they been in business? Number three, do they have good credit with carriers, right? Because this is all going to affect your business. Number four, what type of TMS or software do they use? Number five, what type of commission plan are they going to put you on? What type of commission rate can you earn? What training do they provide? What are their expectations of you in the first 60, 90 days? Are there opportunities to increase your commission based on volume and margin? What other marketing and or support do they provide to 1099 agents above and beyond the standard, right? Those are a few. I mean, that should get you started. I gave you a handful of really solid questions there to ask. Obviously, you want to know about your commission plan. You want to know about their history, their credit. You want to know about their technology. Those are all some of the core components, other benefits and other support, other ways they can support you. Another good one is, how can they support you in the event that you're sick and or you go on vacation? Are there other ancillary supports built in to their program to help their agents? Like we had that with my company. If they went away on vacation, we would help support their freight, dispatch their loads, try to cover their freight, do all that while they were gone, right? So those are some examples. Hope that helps. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Here's what I'm going to suggest. All right. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, and you've watched this training, or maybe you've been on YouTube, or maybe you've been doing some research on Google and you're finding all these bits and pieces of information, but you don't feel like you have all the answers. You don't feel like you have what you need in order to get started. I know exactly how you feel. That's how I felt when I got started back in 2003. I hired a guy, paid him over $10,000 to come in and consult with me after I did all my due diligence online, just so I knew that I was prepared for what I was getting into. So what I've done with Freight Broker Bootcamp is I've taken all of that knowledge that I've gained and I've put it into a course that walks you through the process of everything that I wanted to know before I got started, right? And it doesn't cost you $10,000. Literally, you can get started for a couple $100. And we offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. We've trained over 10,000 students in over a decade of doing this type of training. So if you're curious about becoming a freight broker, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you search for Freight Broker Bootcamp Audio Experience. And most of all, if you have not subscribed and hit the bell on YouTube, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you're absolutely missing out. I release 2 new videos. Well, no, 1 new video every week. Plus I do a live stream there, and you'll get notified if you subscribe and hit the bell. Appreciate you guys being here. Always thought, humbled that you guys are willing to take time out of your busy schedule. I'll be back next Monday at noon. If you guys want the free download associated with the training that I did today, which is my favorite hack for getting shippers using LinkedIn, just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/LI hack. Again, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/LI hack. You'll put your email, you'll be able to download it. You can print it, do whatever you want, save it on your computer, but you get free access. I have it sitting right here in front of me. It walks you through all the 4 of the steps, the 4 different, the framework, the 4-part framework. And I think it's going to help solidify what we went over in that live training. It usually does. So make sure you get that free download. Hope you guys have an awesome week. I'll see you next Monday at noon.